I'm Deputy Deborah Taylor with the Seminole County Sheriff's Office, and I manage the hydroponic greenhouse and fish farm. This is the fry house where the fish are raised from baby to fry. And by fry we mean a fellow that's going to be anywhere from about a ½ inch to 2 to 3 inches long. Once they get more than that, they graduate into the big fish house. Each one of these tanks is about 140 gallons, and we've got 200 2 to 3 inch fry in each one of them. As they begin to grow, these are all babies from last year. We start to graduate them and separate them so that this tank would get separated into two, and each one having only 100 fish. By doing that, by expanding their room, I'm going to increase their growth process. I'll get a growth rate jump, and then they will get bigger faster and be ready to move to the tanks inside. This is the fish tank that I want to hook up to the sump tank for the tomatoes. The tomato tank is right here, and that's the pump for this tank. It just kind of looked obvious. I mean, the one was here and this is here, and there's got to be a way to get the two together. So even as we clean filters, if we clean them into the sump tank, then that's going to be something that's still going to provide nutrient for the tomatoes. But all of this, what I'm hoping, is to go directly from the fish tank to the tomatoes, run off from the tomatoes to this as clean water, and then this is going to get returned back to this tank. One of the things I'm working on calibrating now is that I've got to ensure that the same amount of water that's leaving the tank is returning to the tank. And this doesn't become depleted or overflow, nor does that. So that's a little bit where I am right now, but once we get that worked out, we'll be ready to give it a try. The female tilapia are mouth brooders, so once the eggs have become fertilized, she holds them in her mouth. We have a hatching jar that allows us to simulate what the eggs would be going through inside their mother's mouth, and it keeps them tumbling and keeps moving them until their yolk sacs are absorbed, and then they start swimming on their own. Once that happens, we transfer them to these nets, and they'll stay in these nets probably for about a month and a half, maybe 2 months, depending on how fast they grow. Now, since they're so small, we can't feed them any food, but what we do is we have a protein-rich powder that we keep the water. That's why the water looks so brown. It's a black algae that we put in the water, and it keeps it full of nutrients and protein, and they just swim through that and glean the nutrients out of it that way. Once they're big enough to start taking solid food, they get transferred to the little fish house where the fry are raised. Every one that we have, every one of these fish, we've raised from eggs and baby from that size. Someone once gave me 75 fish about 3 years ago, and I have never bought a fish since. The plants that we have out here are also plants that we've grown from seed. These are actually heirloom varieties, and we do seed saving projects to where I'll teach the females about pollination and how we gather the seed heads once they've been finished. The sunflowers themselves, you can see that they're already starting to drop and the seeds are starting to develop in here. And once this is done, they'll learn how to cut the head and dry the seed and save the seed for next season. We've got sunflowers planted in boxes on the other side that are actually 10th generation from the original sunflowers that we planted 10 years ago. Everything else here that we're trying to educate them about is edible flowers. It's funny because you eat leaves, you eat roots, you eat stems, but you tell somebody to eat a flower and they look at you like you're crazy. But these are actually edible French marigolds. This little guy tastes like tangerine. Look, I'll prove it. Yum. And then you can eat sunflower petals. Honestly, they taste like sunflower seeds. They're delicious on salads. We have nasturtiums growing down here. They've got that spicy mustardy taste. So it's a lot of fun to bring them out and show them flowers aren't just, you know, something pretty to look at and nice to have the butterflies in, that there's a lot of ways that you can keep having your flowers year after year by saving your own seed, and then a lot of fun incorporating them in a salad too. This is a start of a banker plant. I've got a couple pots along the sides. We use banker plants instead of pesticides. I grow papaya to attract predator wasps for my whitefly, And I grow sorghum to attract predator wasps for aphids and also predator spider mites. I've also been very fortunate to have little minute pirate beetles show up for me as well to help keep the thrips under control. This is all just bird seed. And to keep the banker plant population strong, we'll go around and just gather some of these landscape pots, fill them with soil, sprinkle some bird seed on top and let them grow. I've got one in the greenhouse now. Everybody in it's very, very big, but it's so full of bugs, and if anyone looks at it, it looks like something that's half dead and they want to throw in the garbage, but it's actually absolutely packed with beneficial insects. And having that horrible, beaten up poor little sorghum in there, it's not attractive, but it has definitely saved me from having to use pesticides. I actually got excited this morning when I saw some whitefly because I'm running out of food for my predators. The passion flowers I had originally planted to be a food source for zebra longwing. Look at this guy, he's absolutely beautiful. It turns out Gulf fritillary will come and destroy these vines. And with just this vine that we have here, and this fellow started over on this side, you actually end up sitting here at the picnic table shooing butterflies out of your face. That come June and July, we will have Gulf fritillaries everywhere. This whole area back here is a teaching garden. I don't anticipate anybody being able to go home and start a hydroponic greenhouse or do any hydroponic gardening, but if they get the basic understanding of plant requirements, how to take care of plants, how to raise a garden, and even to take a backyard space, because this is about your typical backyard size, and convert it into something that's functional, something that's fun and enjoyable. To come over here and sit down in the shade, to sit and listen to the water in the fountain and sit with the garden, it relaxes them. And again, for them to be able to find another outlet, another way of calming down, of redirecting their anger, of sitting and focusing, giving themselves another option rather than some of the choices that they've already made that have turned out to not be so good or not have such good results for them. The other nice thing about the garden is that we do strictly herbs and vegetables over here. We've got all the pretty flowers on that side, but everything else here is an herb. In the wintertime, we'll have broccoli and carrots. I've got a couple carrots left on this side. One of the nicest things to watch the women who come out here do is to pull a carrot out of the ground and realize, yeah, I'm going to yank up this plant, this beautiful little fern plant, and boom, here's a carrot. But nothing smells better than a carrot with the earth still on it and that rich, rich fragrance to it. Wash it off and run over and eat it. And it's the sweetest, it's the tastiest, and it smells better than any carrot they've ever had. And to have that full connection of we've put down the seed, we've worked the garden, and now I'm going to enjoy this, it kind of helps things come full circle for them. The other nice thing too with the herbs, very few with the women who come through the program, because their backgrounds are primarily, they're from the streets, there's a lot of violence, there's a lot of drug abuse, poor to no education for most women. So the idea of cooking with herbs, again, if it doesn't come in a little shaker or something, they really are unfamiliar with it. So we come out to the garden and we start picking leaves and eating leaves and grab this and smell, sniff the rosemary. They're not accustomed to being able to grab a bush and get that kind of fragrance from something, to bite this leaf and have it taste like licorice, to know that these are onions. You know, they see onions in the grocery store, but to see an onion growing out of the ground, they wouldn't know that this would be the thing I would go pull up and find that there's an onion underneath of it. Again, with the radishes, we've got radishes here the same way. The fun thing too is to take the radish flowers and put those on salad. They taste like radishes. We have mustard greens, we take the mustard flowers and put those on salad. They taste like mustards. So it's a lot of fun to show them where the food comes from, how you can work with the food, and basically bring it into their lives.